Good morning, everybody. This is Wendy Wanders the City. I'm your host, Paul, today. We're starting a little bit early, but it's because I kind of want to show you another interesting neighborhood of Chicago. So we're going to be down in Pilsen, and if you look ahead of me, I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, but those are the Metra tracks down there. Now we're looking eastward towards the city. It's hazy. It's very warm out here today. We're going to be close to 100 today. But I'm on 15th Street and Western. And if you look ahead of me, let me change the camera real quick. I'm going to change you to zoom a little bit better so we can see the telephoto. You can see there's like a wrought iron gate across the street there, and you can't get through there. But we're kind of in the movie district of Chicago. So Chicago has a very thriving movie industry. There's an awful lot of, the Batman films are here. You had the old school movies, right? Animal House, not Animal House, Blues Brothers, I Killed the Babysitter, or The Babysitter's Dead, or something of that nature. But just beyond those gates is the studio scene in Chicago. And just behind me is CineStage. These buildings that we're walking along, these are old warehouses, and it makes sense, right? We've got the train tracks just ahead of us. So this would have been places that you would have been doing dry and cold storage for your supplies that were going to either come off the train or go onto the train at this point. On 15th Street, you can't make it through to the theater district, or to the movie district. You can't make it over there by vehicle at all, but you can walk through to that side. Good morning, J-Back. Good morning, Nance. Can you guys test something out for me? I think I created another link tree for this one, and it's WWTC. And that's basically for Wendy Wanders the City and Wendy Watches the Cops. And I'll get that in the description and the links pretty soon. Again, you're just seeing this big industrial warehouse space. All of these buildings would have been just warehouse areas, and it makes great storage for the movie sets. So you'll oftentimes see parking over here. It'll say, hey, if you're an extra for movie such and such, park in this lot, and the lot is right here. And then you'll be able to walk over into the studios center. There's another, although I think they're closing very soon. Lagunitas has a brewery and a restaurant down here, which was massive. And I think they're closing the tasting room, brewery, and the restaurant. They still do brew beer in that location. But I just don't think they were getting the traffic that they would get. And COVID really hurt them. It's a very large space, and I would imagine it's expensive to run that. But now you can see down here, there's a toll gate, right? And it's not for a toll, but it's really a gate to deter traffic. But you can walk into that area. You just can't drive into that area unless you belong in that area. So, all right. And we're coming up on the Metra stop. So, Chicago runs on trains. I will tell you that I took a bus to get down here today, and it was a 5-mile route. And because it's an express bus, maybe it took me 15 minutes, and we're in the heart of rush hour right now here in Chicago. Okay, I'll have to look up that. Thank you, Nancy. I'm going to change back to our other camera. So there is some earthworks going on here. I'm not sure what they're building, but they're stockpiling a lot of dirt in this old Metra parking lot that we've got going on. And it wasn't a Metra parking lot. It was a parking lot for the warehouses. The white buildings back here are the Lagunitas Brewery that I was just speaking about. And as we keep on pressing forward or south, we're headed to, this is the Western station for the Metra. Remember, the Metra are those regional trains which are taking commuters who live in the neighboring suburbs to the city back and forth. About a half mile north of me is the expressway. So we would have been, the Eisenhower Expressway, and that's where the blue line's at. So you could have taken a commuter rail, and then just ahead of us is the pink line. The pink line is not a highly used train line, but it does get people to this neighborhood. This neighborhood is tough to get to without the pink line. Oh, you know what? And sorry, you might be getting, I'm in a tunnel right now, so you're probably getting crushed on some noise. J-Bat, we'll fix that. I think fuzzy right now is the managing, and I don't know how to do it while I'm actually live. So I don't know if I can help you. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, so as I said, right, you can see the bridge that's going across the street up ahead of us. That's the pink line, and we're the western stop on the pink line. But today we're going to show the Murals of Pilsen. So we're at the western boundary. This might not even be considered Pilsen, but you'll still start seeing the flavor of Pilsen while we're here. Over here we've got Are You Speaking Facts? Stop Plan Merida. I might stay on the other side of the street just to give you the more the wide angle view of this. And I'm looking into the sunlight right now, so I'm having a hard time seeing this. But we're seeing all kinds of murals, and people kind of, not bid's the wrong word, but they create paperwork that allows them to have a space on this wall. Now we're gonna have a little bit of a gap because there's about a half mile where we can't get to the wall. I like this, prevent World War III. The reason this wall exists is that in the early 1900s, there were so many train accidents because the trains were at street grade or at pedestrian grade. And just too many people there was too many accidents. So they made the policy that they tried to lift all of the trains so that they could go over the car traffic, and it wouldn't be as disruptive to the car traffic and the pedestrian traffic, and we would have less accidents in that space. Like the gangster rolling the dice here. Oh, but as I was saying, so in order to raise those tracks, they created earthen berms, and these berms would be too rounded. So these walls are basically retaining walls that allow the compacted dirt or the earthenworks to stay between this and then support the railroad tracks. If you ever saw the aerial view of this, you would see that the tracks are, there's 8 or 9 tracks going through this area. This is kind of a junction. Also, just a quick tidbit that the train tracks are owned by the long distance transporters. So Union Pacific, Milwaukee Northwest. Those are the companies that own these tracks, and then they rent them out to the Metra or the commuter systems. And so these are operational tracks. You're going to see freight coming down these tracks all the time. It's really interesting to see, mile-long trains coming through the city. We'll take a peek up here. By the way, most rail industries, they're protected from the government as secure transportation. Additionally, they're some of the most litigious people in the world. So, walking along train tracks, A, it's dangerous, and B, it's illegal, and the trains, usually the people that own these train lines, they will press charges. Okay. Now we're going to go about a half mile, and we're not going to be able to see any of the murals for a bit. There are no murals as we go through here. So what I kind of want to just talk about is this neighborhood. So Pilsen, a long time ago, and we've talked about how Chicago just continues to migrate. So people ebb and flow and move into neighborhoods, they move out of neighborhoods. Long ago, this would have been a Polish neighborhood. So some of the earliest settlers here, when it was concentrated for an ethnicity, would have been Polish. And then the Polish started to move a little bit further north. There are some Eastern European communities up there. There's one called Ukrainian Village. And the Polish families they either moved away from Chicago or they moved up north. I'm pretty sure there's still a fact that Chicago might be the most heavily populated Polish community in the world outside of Warsaw. This is let's see here. This is not the most exciting half mile of the tour, but we will see some interesting things. We're on 18th Street now. Just as we cross Damon, the tracks really move up to like 16th Street. It's just really wide right here because this is a rerouting junction for Union Pacific. It's a train yard where they will store trains or move cars from train A to train B. We're coming up on a salvage yard here. Awful lot of interesting items for sale. So you can see that they've got a ton of tires. You can see the older cars near the back. I can see a GTO back there, an old Model A. The tires, bicycles. Pilsen is another community where we might be able to see it on this side, but I can definitely see it on the far side. That this ground used to be about 10 feet deeper, right? So we will be able to see it right here. I'll give you an example. If you look here, I'm on a sidewalk, and then if we look over from the sidewalk, the houses are built like 10 feet down. So there's the land is below us, right? What happened was they would have so many problems with water drainage and all of those types of problems. This was such low land that they couldn't keep the houses from being flooded. So what they did is they built up the road in the middle, and all of the drainage pipes are in that space. So they were able to excavate and create much better drainage in that space. But it's interesting in this neighborhood, the street is above the base units or the foundations of all of the basements in this neighborhood. If we look here, the train tracks are narrowing, so it has moved a half a block north of us, but there's no wall there yet, so there's no mural there yet. Most of the houses here are unique. You're not seeing developers having come in and knock out an entire block. These houses would have been built by whoever the family members were that wanted to buy a home, but it would have been independent architecture. Many of these are close to bungalows, so this is mostly a bungalow. Up in that attic space, the peak up there, there'll be a bedroom, oftentimes, or a closet, but it's got the slanted roofs on both sides, so you're going to bump your head quite a bit while you're in there. Hey Fuzzy, thanks for coming in. Here we've got some more artwork on the side of the building. I cannot speak Spanish, but I'm going to give it a try. Para los niños con sueños, Suenos, and amor, which I'm going to go with, feels like love, right? So for the Latins and the Greeks, that would be a love. So somehow that seems to be a very peaceful or loving sign in that process. 18th Street is an important street in this neighborhood. So many of the restaurants, we're in much more of a residential district, but as we get the other side of Damon, this becomes a much more retail space. And you're going to see a lot more taquerias. You're going to see a lot more restaurants, authentic or otherwise, heavy Hispanic and I would say even Mexican tilt to what's going on in this neighborhood. This is one of my favorite running routes because I don't know if you can see, but this is a street that does have the bike lanes. So you can see the bike lanes right here. And early in the morning, you know, there are no cyclists out. So I get to run in those spaces. And it's really fun to run through here. I would run through Chinatown first, which Chinatown is going to be a little bit northeast of Pilsen. And then you'd come into Pilsen. And the morning bakers in Chinatown would be creating all of the dim sum type pastries. And then when you'd get here, you would have all of the tortillas. So there's several tortilla factories here. In addition to that, I always call them road coaches, but you've got the pickup trucks that have the heating units on the back, and they'll go around to local factories and industry to give people their coffee break and their lunch break foods. They will always be in here in the morning, stocking up on burritos and tamales, all of the typical Mexican affair or Mexican fare. Sorry, the sun is pretty devastating on me right now, so I'm not able to see the screen very well. Hopefully we'll be able to change that once I head up. But now we're coming up on Damon, and we have to go one more block to Walcott before we'll be able to see the murals again. Here's a park. Again, Chicago is very good about their green space. It is by design. The Burnham plan wanted there to be green space, wanted the communities to have places they could play. And now we've got the Jose Clemente Orozco. I think this is a grade school. This may even be bilingual. You can see a little bit of mural and artwork up on that top layer here. Try and make sure I'm keeping you up on that there. We're flying the Chicago flag today, right? The two blue stripes and then the 4 stars. Those 4 stars have meaning. The 2 World's Fairs, the Great Fire, and DuSable founding the city. Little sports mural up there. Cubs, Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. I think that our soccer team is Fire as well, so it's Ladies Fire. I know that our men's soccer team is Fire. This street, as it approaches the Dan Ryan Expressway, it becomes an Italian neighborhood, and it's basically where the Maxwell Street Market would have been. or it was where the Maxwell Street was at least moved to. Maxwell Street is actually a couple of blocks north of here. Morning. So this is fairly common too. Um, the woman here is selling tamale and also iced beverages, things like horchata or fruit juices that have the Mexican or Latin theme to them. Just ahead of us, you can see that pink line again. So when we got off at Western, right, we saw the pink line was a little bit south of us. So this is now going north-south, and it's going to turn just a couple of blocks south of there and then head out to where we were just at. But for now, I'm going to move off of 18th Street, and we're going to head back to the railroad tracks so that we can watch, look at more of the murals. Folks, we're closing in on 50 subs. At that point, I'll be able to go live natively. Really appreciate that. Hopefully you're enjoying this. There is, and we'll do another tour of this, but this is just a door, and somebody's just, they're going to paint their door. There's an area of Pilsen, it's called the Red Door District, and everybody has a red door with some painted elements on it. And I think that's a really cool thing to see as well. Today, we are mostly going to concentrate just on these murals as we go along here. And I appreciate the mods helping out. They're my PR team. Really love it. Just a reminder, folks, that creators rely upon the mods because if the creators, especially when we're live, right, we're trying to keep our eye on the street, make sure that we're paying attention to what's going on out here. And it's very helpful. But there are also people that give us kind of tips and tricks about, hey, you should consider this or think about that. So they have very valued input in regards to how we can grow our channels and share things. So now we've kind of come down and we're going to then wander down 16th Street for quite some time. Can you hear somebody playing their radio over here? Again, you can see that's a Sears Tower behind us. Now it's hazy day, so you can't really see it that well, but just the tip of that is the Sears Tower. And again, we're on 16th Street. Got the I would say, Aztec type art on this first mural here. It's really impressive what the artists can do. And I think all of this is spray paint. Now, there are people that do paint and brush. Yes, I just said do. There are people that do brush work, but a lot of this is just skill with a spray paint can. And it's typically, most murals are thematic of the neighborhood in which they exist. Most of these are going to be name tags, right? Seeing a dice theme in here again. On the other side of the street, so right now we're kind of on the back side of a warehouse or a factory in this area. And again, we're near train tracks, so it is a way that factories can get their products onto trains quickly, and that, again, cheaper mode of transportation. Here we've got the jaguar, right, the South American predator, and the snakes. This is interesting. I like the way that the beard, the beard is made out of the green here. Somebody's come by and put some fangs on it, which I don't believe that was the artist's original intent. Look at the detail that is in all of the small little characters that are added into the artwork here. Said it before, Chicago has a free museum. It's just the city, right? Come and see the amazing artwork that we've got here in the city. Recognize this one, Wolverine from our X-Men. No, that's not Wolverine. That's the Professor, and I can't remember who he is. Henry or Harry, I think, was his real name before he turns into the super strength being. You can see a little bit of an abstract city skyline up there. Many artists will also, you won't be able to see it here just because it's too dark, but right, so the train tracks running over the top of us, the streets have to go underneath. I told you that that's really why they rise. But some of the artists are taking advantage of the inside of the tunnels here to put their artwork up. As you can see, we're crossing Wood Street now. We're walking east. So this person has his own signature, Raman Statik. Unfortunately, some of the outer skin is peeling away here. Make sure I've got the whole frame in there. Yeah, no, I think was Xavier the bald, kind of the head of the gang. Beast. So I think that the monster name was Beast, and he was also a professor, and he becomes the Blue Beast, but not Wolverine. Para ti, no idea what that means. So if I'm swearing at you in Spanish, I apologize. It's impressive, the creativity. That okay, so Trey, freed from pain, find your divine. So this is homage to probably one of the neighborhood citizens who I would say it looked like they had a medical struggle, and they're now pain-free. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. I like that. Now, I do think that people should have opinions, but then once you have your opinion, go and try and figure out a way to rationalize it. Do some research on it. Figure out if your opinion's right. Again, I'm going to go with this. It would have been, I think you'll see this on Aztec buildings, this cat, and I'm pretty sure it represents the jaguar, although this is not an overly realistic version of it. Thank you. Hank McCoy, right, and then Beast, yes. See? Another advantage of having great mods. I can't tell, is that an E? A Y? Loom, bloom, gloom. Maybe it's gloom with the flowers below. Oh, yeah, and then it says gloomier over here, so I think that's gloom. Let's see if I can back away from the wall a little bit, give you a better perspective on that. This, I remember, what is it? Del la Muerto, or Day of the Dead. That looks to be the artwork that we typically see there. Howdy, Joe Cool. I've been out on the cop watching, but I'm just not having much luck finding anything that's eventful. I might need another tutoring lesson. So now as we've gotten here, right, we've got the pink line going over the top, and the church in the background. They're refacing that so you can see the scaffolding from that church. But the pink line is right here going over the top of us. Again, we're seeing Aztec art. For those of you just joining us, right, we're on 16th Street, following the Metra line, or the Union Pacific line, and all of the murals and the lovely artwork that people have put up on the wall here. There's a set of train tracks above us, and that's what causes this heightened berm, and these walls are meant as retaining walls to hold that dirt in and keep those tracks supported up high. It's interesting how there's really no continuity as you move from artist to artist. Right? How colorful this one is. Back here, black, brown, green. Here again, a little bit more monotone. Always into reading. Love that. There's a very whimsical village. Do you think Baloo is... Oh boy, I can't read the rest of that. I'm struggling to read that one, folks. Here's just a little bit better view of the church that's getting some renovation here. We're crossing Paulina. One of the funniest jokes in all of Chicago lordom is, what are the 3 streets that rhyme with Paulina? And there is no way I can answer that on this chat. So here, I like this, right? So they've got the wording Pilsen here, paying homage to the neighborhood. Fight harder, fly higher. Little boxing bear there. It is Paul, P-A-U-L, Paulina. Is this Teenage Mutant, or it's just a combative turtle? And then again, I wish I knew what this droopy-eyed style was, because I see that style a lot. I just don't know what it's called. going to walk into some shade here. We'll see if we still get if the camera has enough lighting to pick this up. What are we seeing here? Oh boy. So the artist here is Great Uncle Walter. I'm, again, struggling to make out the wording here. Jam. No idea. Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, is the droopy-eyed Pokemon? So Adrian presenting a history of cultural appropriation between the U.S., Ecuador, and Mexico. Here we've got a mural of a guy in a Bulls uniform. A Toreador, it looks like. Looks like we're back into some tagging names. Very creative how they spell any of these words and then kind of create their own little alphabet. Seeing some overgrowth here. Skull with a sombrero. Here, I'm going to say, it looks like Virgin Mary or something to do with that. Skull with a headache. And now we're coming to Ashland. If we think about it, so Western, Damon, Ashland, they're major streets. Those are some of the half-mile streets, right? And every 400 blocks is a half mile. Every 800 blocks is a mile. And you've got the small little residential streets in between, but then, the bigger throughways, which people would usually travel up and down on north or south or east or west, are those half-mile streets where they would have controlled lights, right? They'll have more stop lights. Again, you're going underneath the Metra tracks as well as the freight tracks here. As we look down Ashland, you've got a storage company over here, another church. See if I can get across here real quick. So a Palestinian protest. While I understand that the Palestinian protest has been going on for many, many years, many decades, I'm going to guess that that's a newer mural up there, just based upon the new crisis in Israel and Palestine. Here we're seeing, right, this is 2013, so this has been up here for 11 years. Now, again, we're going to see that you've got the freight trains that are just sitting on the trail, on the rails here, just because they're either waiting to get picked up, they're empty, they're waiting to get filled. This little ramp is basically how the Union Pacific Guards get up and down to monitor the track, and the maintenance people will get up and down to monitor the track. Let's stop raising monsters. I can live with that. I think this is going to be an homage to, again, the Jaguar on top. I don't know what's on the bottom there. We're behind, so you had the self-storage at the corner, and then this would have just been an old warehouse or a factory of some sort. Tramstifa, no idea what that means. Starting back into the muraling over here. If you ever do come to Chicago and you do like Mexican food, this is really a great neighborhood to come down to. You will find a lot of authenticity. Um, you know, hand-me-down recipes from many of these restaurants in this area. Again, the restaurant district is 2 blocks south of me on 18th Street. But today we're here just kind of exploring the murals as Wendy wanders the city. It's an interesting, almost looks like Mr. Squid. There is definitely a delineation of neighborhoods here. So, you've got the old term of the wrong side of the tracks. This would have been a much more challenging, economically deprived area. If you go just north of here, so on the other side of these tracks, you're going to see larger buildings, bigger courtyards, taller buildings. It's where gentrification has already taken place. I'll walk down through the grass here. I don't have a sidewalk, but I don't want to have those cars. If we look down the street here, I can't really walk on the street or you wouldn't be able to see it because of the cars. Here's one of the images from the thumbnail. This looks like the nicest horrifying insect in the world. A lot of white space on the wall here, so artist just chose not to paint the entire wall. Not sure what this monster is. Sorry, I'm kind of looking down here because I'm traversing through some weeds. Don't want to trip. Looks like a young military person. Vanessa Quillen? Gwillen? Colorful flower art here. Then some Day of the Dead. symbology. Is Jessica Guillen famous? And how foolish am I for not knowing who she might be? I go ahead and skate across the street here. Now we're at Loomis. This one has some trees in it. It's going to be hard for me to kind of walk through there, so sorry. I'll try to raise up the camera a little bit. In the background, I was talking about the idea that the community north of here. Oh, this is interesting. So this looks to be a lot of the themes that would have been expressed post George Floyd. Not sure if you'll really be able to tell, but I'll see if I can raise the camera. You're going to see some of the high-rise buildings in the neighborhood north of us, right? So up top, those are going to be the 3 and 4 bedroom condos, rooftop decks, courtyard activities. Now, this next street that we're coming to is Blue Island, and it's one of the diagonals. This one is a southwest diagonal, because again, we're on the south side now, so the streets here are going to try to figure out ways to get down into neighboring southwest communities or neighboring southwest areas. Things like trying to get to St. Louis from Chicago on the most direct route. You'd be using that. Get you back over here onto the grass. Again, this is from the thumbnail, from the thumbnail as well. Some females. Just look like just powerful women. Mural by Sam Kirk and Sandra Antoniatore from 2016. We've got Blue Island. Now this is going to come, Blue Island is going to end a few blocks north of here at Roosevelt, near St. Ignatius Preparatory High School. This is interesting. Just a pretty lengthy row of thematic Native North Americans. Each one slightly different than the prior. We're starting to see the Sears Tower again peek up over the tracks. Just a gander at the neighborhood here, right? So even though there's a discernible economic difference between these two, there's no less pride in both sides. So the neighborhoods are clean. The parks are well kept. The homes are very clean and well kept, right? They're not brand new, but the people who live in this neighborhood definitely take care of their properties. I'm seeing Pilsen again. Ah, thank you for that info. Sorry, a lot of this morning, a lot of the time, I'm not able to see. Oh, I'm gonna see if I can get this a little bit more. So Roswell, but it's only one S, Roswell. I do like this. I'll say we've recently lost a friend on the other channel, and right, don't stand in my grave. I'm not there. Celebrate my life. Don't mourn my death. And while I hope it's a long time before you have to do that for me, I'll encourage you to do the same. I do like this. I like the detail in this. Looks like we're back into a lot of tagging here or names. Cute little fella. NIU, which is the Huskies. So I'll say that these are definitely south of the border interpretations of NIU, Northern Illinois University, out in DeKalb, Illinois. That's probably an hour, 90 minutes west of the city. And our next major street here is Racine. At the corner of Racine and 18th Street is a live music venue, and it's very eclectic. It'll be anything from old folksy stuff to doo-wop, country, rock and roll. Just a lot of fun stuff there. Here we're seeing a multifamily unit. A less than thrilled driver. Oh, this is interesting. So this is a mosaic tile. This isn't painted here. The Green Star movement. Changing the urban canvas, www.greenstarmovement.org. The wire hanging down here, I'd say that's looks like somebody's using it for swinging fun, but I would not encourage that. I guess I'm saying now, get off my lawn. This is all legal artwork. Chicago has a program where buildings, and in this situation, it's Union Pacific, they donate the wall. And then I keep on using the word bid, but you submit a proposition to say, I would like to paint such and such. And the city will accept or decline that offer. And then you'll be able to take that real estate and cover it with art, however you see fit. Now, there also is, right, and you can even see it in here, right? So this the red lettering here on the purple, that's just, I'll say vandalism, but right, it's somebody who didn't have permission to be down here. But the rest of them, the vast majority of them, they do have permission to be here, and they tend to respect one another. I mean, as we're seeing, some of these were done 10, 11, 12 years ago, and they're still here. If you look at buildings, buildings also put their walls up there. God has made me fruitful through my afflictions. I do like that. This is May of 2016. If you saw, I think it was on Friday. It might have been Saturday. I was on my walk home and we saw somebody finishing up their mural at Flash Taco on North Avenue and Milwaukee. Yeah, I would say that in general, graffiti is illegal. I would say that I think the city is taking a very good approach to this. The idea to let people express themselves in a non-violent manner, who could possibly say that's a bad idea? Now, graffiti does become dangerous in certain situations when it becomes competitive or territorial. And I know that I've lived through times where people would repaint a wall over and over again, just flip-flopping it back and forth, trying to exert domain over it, and sometimes ending up in conflict and violence. But a lot of these are younger kids doing this. And to give them an outlet, phenomenal, in my opinion. By the way, on this channel, my opinion counts. Not sure where Toyota Park is. I don't recognize that as a Chicago stadium. This is kind of the USPS Eagle, but I'm guessing that's not at all what this is. The Eagle is also very, very important in ancient Mexican lore. The Aztecs had high regard for the eagle as well as the jaguar. This is the ancient Aztec game, right? That we think this might be part of how we kind of envision basketball, but this was a death sport. I don't know if you can see, but the gentleman just in front of us with his arm straight outstretched, just above him is a circle, and they're inside of a courtyard, and there's a ball, and the goal is to get the ball through that circle. And when I was a young lad and in history class, it was a deadly sport that the losing team paid quite the price. Nice comedic little caricature down here. Yeah, Jabat, I'm pretty sure that there are rules or guidelines as to what can be done. I just never have, that might be something I'll do. I'll try to pull a permit on that, or pull the forms for it. And again, we're seeing the large high rises north of the tracks. Yeah, I really like the positive messages we're hearing here, and especially we have enough people that try to cause strife in the world. But even the darkest night will end, the moon will rest, and the sun will rise. And I'll say that some adult-themed comics. I'm going to stay on the street here. I don't think there's too much to see as we go past here. Seeing another sign, defund CPD. Folks, as much as I feel like the police in Chicago are corrupt, defunding the police just sounds like a frivolous and fruitless activity. I'd rather us figure out a way to reform it, and I know that that's a challenge and that we've tried for many years and we've not been overly successful. But I would say stay that path. Is it F-I-K, E-I-K? No idea. Merc? I like the subtleness of this, right? The face kind of looking from behind the tagged words. You see the subtlety of the eye looking there. We're into some more comic space over here. There's a homeless person underneath this next train track, so I'm gonna I'll take a little bit of a shot here, and then I'm gonna switch the camera to the other side. So here we've got tracks going southwest through the city. These will eventually lead you down to like Gary, Indiana, or Highland Park, Indiana. They'll merge up with the main tracks that run along the lake. So we're past the tunnel here. Beautiful eagle, Mexican princess. Not sure you'll really see it, but ahead of me is the expressway up on top. You might be able to see a few cars kind of racing by there quickly. So that's going to be the Dan Ryan as it heads south. Ooh. That's awesome, Chris. I'm guessing that that absolutely some of these are brands, right? No different than Banksy. It's just that maybe a lot of these aren't quite as popular as Banksy. This next one almost just looks like graphic art. You can tell it's hand painted, but it has the feel of more graphic art than anything else. A melting Homer, which, by the way, he would be today here in Chicago. It's going to be very, very warm. Mundo Libre. Much liberty? I don't know what Mundo is. We've got some open space here to our south. The street that you're seeing on the other side of the park, that's 18th Street, as I said before. And you'll see more, that's going to be a much more retail street. You'll see a lot of the restaurants, the nightclubs. That's a neighborhood that has a lot of lavanderia, so because there's multi-unit housing in that neighborhood. People go to the community laundromat. If we look a little bit north of here, you might be able to see the yellow horizontal lines. That's a baseball field. That's a park. That happens to be the ball fields for University of Illinois Chicago. So that campus is basically Halstead and Harrison. It then trails off into Taylor Street, or what is left of the Italian Little Italy area. Got some Christian themed elements here. Get the whole name in there. So, wow. Oh, this is just celebrating someone's life. And then I would definitely say a heavily Christian themed image. So this is actually not uncommon. We're seeing what used to be a public throughway, right? And it's now blocked off, right? So you can't get through there anymore. There is a high price real estate development on the other side. And this is basically stay out. And it's a separation of economic classes, right? And again, I'm not trying to make any other statement than very often people who are the landowners, right? They want to make sure that they're protecting their space, and they want to live free of disruption from other people that they might not want to associate with. That's an old, so that is not recent that has been chained off. I don't want to, by any means, say that it doesn't happen anymore. It is less frequent that happens anymore. So we basically walked 2.5 miles. We're now to Halstead. Halstead is going to be a major street. We're 800 West. If we head up this way, we'll be into West Loop and University of Illinois, or University Village, so University of Illinois, Chicago. That is north. And if I keep on pressing forward, I'm going to have to go under the expressway. So let's head up into University Village. Again, you'll notice a distinct difference between these two neighborhoods as we move forward. I agree with you, Chris. The talent is rather amazing, and I love that they allow the artwork to be expressed. As we come down here, right, there's, again, a Metra track that's on top of us. This is the stairwell up to the Metra tracks. You can kind of see you can go to Aurora from here if you go west, and back into the city if you go east. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks. So, right, we're seeing a little bit of a difference here in the neighborhood. We're not going to see artwork in this neighborhood, really. There actually are some statues down here where the old Maxwell Street was, but this is University Village. It has the historic 3-floor units. Most of these would be what we would call a 3-flat, and each floor is an independent apartment. Sometimes there's 2 apartments per floor. The building back here is taller, right? But it would have been a land developed element, and it would have been, this came in much more recently. So some of these older houses, there would have been the restriction that says you can only go so high because the fire trucks only have ladders that are so high. This neighborhood has very pretty courtyards, right? Landscaping definitely feels like a community. Right? You've got the flowering gardens, the pathway through here to the alley behind. Landscaping, trying to get the grass to grow in the shade. Don't see that working very often, but as we move, sorry, as we move up north, we're going to come to Roosevelt, which is a fairly major street. It's 1200. It's a contiguous street that gets you all the way out to the far western suburbs, um, and go through some interesting neighborhoods as you go down that street. Here you can see the signage. Do it for this one; it's closer, right? University Village. At the end of this street is, again, you're going to have to go underneath or over the expressway. The expressway is risen or elevated at that point. It's kind of nice here that I'm in the shade. Let's see if I can pick up the pace because it's a lot of this for a couple of blocks here until we get into the retail district. The retail district, again, is going to be restaurants, bars, pubs. On the left side, actually, it's retail all the way to the corner of Roosevelt, but just behind the left side is the University of Chicago sports fields that we saw from underneath the railroad tracks a few minutes ago. That next street up there is Maxwell Street, and again, that's the old Maxwell Street Market. You would have been able to get your Polish sausage there, your hot dogs. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can cross the street. So again, this is going to be a neighborhood where it's well-to-do, and they want to preserve the aesthetics of the neighborhood. So you're not seeing the massive 7-Eleven sign that you would normally see in certain places. They've just got the wording on their awning. You'll see this in some of the more wealthy suburbs of Chicago as well, where places like McDonald's won't have the golden arches. Now, in this next street, Maxwell Street, we'll see some statuary, and it's right. I like the statuary here. This is a nice bar. I like it. It's got interesting food. It's more than just Americana food. Uh, they have a chef that tries to create more of a rotating or a seasonal menu. We'll go over and we'll look at, there's some signage over here that we'll let you see real quick. So, right, we've got the legend or the map of the University of Chicago, the University of Illinois at Chicago, and then ahead you can see the sports fields that we talked about. And over here, Maxwell Street. Before they put the highway in, this would have just been a place where people came to sell things, right? Whether it be food products, clothing products. They've got a lot of statuary that looks like just people in real life here. So here they're describing about that it was the kind of the roots of the Mississippi Delta music. Remember that as people came up from the south, Chicago was, because there were the trains here, this was a landing spot for many of them. And that's really where the music of Chicago formed. That it was the people coming from the south who were escaping slavery, or even when slavery is abolished. We just had what we're about to have Juneteenth. That it really took several years for it to happen, and even after slavery was abolished, they made it very difficult on people of color to be able to have a livelihood. There were all sorts of the Jim Crow laws. It was not the brightest part in America's history. And by the way, I don't mean to say that slavery was the brightest part, but when slavery ended, that did not mean that everybody was equal again. So here, right, 60,000 people would come to this market. And then we'll head into, this is a frontage road. It might, it's called Union Street here. It fronts the highway. You can probably see the cars speeding by, cars and trucks speeding by. So Nance, we had a little artwork, but we ran out of the murals. And then these two places, we'll probably even see some purchases right now. But these two competing hot dog or Polish sausage stands are incredibly busy and thriving, especially on days where there's baseball games. It's just part of like Americana or the vintage elements of Chicago. So even in the morning, people are going to come here and they're going to grab their lunch and just take it away to have it later on. So this one is, by the way, they're all the original Maxwell Street, but none of them is actually the original Maxwell Street. And Jim's original, now I don't know if he is the first Jim or not, but you've got Jim's original. These do not have dining. So you walk up to the window, you talk to the guy in one window, he takes your order, and you move over, pay for your meal, and then go on. So here we're seeing a little bit of the lineage. Let's see if I can get around this tree to get to the other side of it as well. Morning. Here is one of the auditoriums from the University of Chicago. You'll see Chicago is known for a lot of trade shows. Usually they take place at the McCormick Place, but in smaller situations they'll take place here, or they'll do career fairs in this space. You'll see that we've got the Chicago skylines ahead of us. I'm going to cross over the highway, and we'll head into. Some people will call this South Loop. Other people will call it West Loop. Roosevelt being 1200, again, remembering that those every 400 is kind of a big deal street, especially here close to the city center. As you get further away, it does start going to every 800 blocks, or every mile is a significant street. It's always one of the crossings that I very much hate. The cars coming from behind me don't like to wait for the pedestrians. Now, as we look forward here, to our right is going to be a UPS distribution center. So that's one of the places where all of the Chicago packaging comes in and then gets split off to smaller trucks for delivery. There are several UPS warehouses or docks here in the city. Chicago, again, has legal marijuana, and this CBD kratom is a pretty, let's see, there's a lot of those branches. So it's a brand that has several stores throughout the city. In this neighborhood is the Chicago Fire Department's training center. So there's a building here that they'll set on fire and have the recruits put it out. And then they've also got large stairwells, and you've got to do a lot of the obstacle course work and the training work that's required to be a fireman, a fire person. This next door I really like. I just like old handcrafted vintage clothing. Sorry, we might get a fire truck siren. I'm going to go on mute, and I'm just going to show you this. All right, looks like the fire truck's going to turn off its siren finally. But love the old vintage clothing that they've got in there. There we can see one of the UPS trucks heading out. And our next major street is going to be Canal Street. I think today we'll close this tour off at Canal Street. If you're also somebody interested in the other channel, we'll do a quick drive-by over there, see if we can get the blinds closed. It's nice that I'm in the shade here right now as we cross the river. So when I close at Canal Street, I'll end up walking over the Chicago River. Let me. I'm not sure where those fire trucks are going. They just seem to be stopped right there. Canal Street in this area is, there are several indoor malls, the TJ Maxx's, DSW Shoes, Five Below, Dick's Sporting Goods. And then on our right will be a large grocery store, Jewel Osco. If you're a Chicagoan, it's always been called Jewel's. There is no S, but it is the way that most people would talk about it. You can see the Jewel Osco down there, and the convenience store up here in front. The White Palace Grill, it is just a very traditional diner. You walk in there, it's got the bar stool counters, burgers and fries. It's been around forever. And as we approach Canal Street, we're going to see the major. You know what? I'll walk. I'll take this over the bridge, so you can watch. We'll get a good view of this rail yard, as well as the Chicago River, and Pingtong Park. So we'll see Chinatown from here, but we won't be going to Chinatown. You can see we've got the Metra train yard. This is where they'll do repairs. They'll reconfigure the trains. In the background, you can see some bridges that are up in the air. I have a family attachment to one of those bridges. My great-grandfather was an architect here in the city, and he was able to move that bridge. That bridge used to be here on Roosevelt. He moved that bridge down to its current location. It is a single-leaf bascule bridge, and the single-leaf bascule bridge is counterweighted on one side. So it pivots from one side and it just lifts up. The branch goes up there. They're highly balanced and calibrated. When they repaint them, they have to recalibrate the weights. That's how sensitive they are. Hopefully you're seeing just how massive a train yard is. And when we started the trip today, we were at a yard similar to this, but more for freight trains out there on Western Avenue. And this is what you would have seen from an aerial view up there, all of the tracks. Here we're looking into the city. If you look down the tracks there, they go underneath that building. That's how those trains get to Union Station. They go under 3 or 4 buildings in a row until they get to Union Station. You can see a train coming in. Now that one's Amtrak, so that's a national train, not a regional train. One of the most obvious giveaways is you can see the observation car there, right? The observation car has the curved windows so that when you're out in the mountains or basically anywhere, you can see out and take in the vast views. Chicago is a rail hub for America. You can take the lake shore from Washington and New York through to Chicago, and then you can take either the Big Chief west to Denver and then on to California, or, darn it, there's one that goes up through Minnesota and it's got a different name. Something like the train. Let me see if I see some comments on there, but I don't know if I can get them. Oh. I might get there in time, but we're about to see a tour boat come by. You can see an architectural tour coming up the river. That vacant land ahead of us, it's called Area 78. It is the largest vacant property still in Chicago. Several times they tried to develop it. This most recent attempt, they actually built a street through there and they put street lights up. So it's very interesting. You've got this beautiful groomed street with the street lights there, but I think the financing finally fell through on that. So they can no longer they're no longer building in that space that I'm aware of. If we look down, that next street is 18th Street, and that's basically Chinatown. And there's a beautiful little park there on the riverfront called Ping Tom Park. And you know, Tom is his Americanized name, but there's a Chinese gentleman who was well known to the community, and they've honored him by naming a park after him. All right, and now I think I'm ready to say we can bring this tour to an end. So hopefully you appreciated that. We saw all the murals of Pilsen. No, we did not see all the murals of Pilsen. We saw the train murals of Pilsen. There are many other murals in Pilsen, and then we'll see those. They're on buildings, and we'll have another tour someday and view those. And then we also saw University Village, and now we've come across into the South Loop. Folks, I hope you have a great day. Hope you enjoyed our little visit. I'll give you one more. So that building is special. That's Marina Tower. I'm sorry, not Marina Tower, Marina City. Marina City, the round building there. And that was one of the first buildings in this area. None of the other skyscraper apartments would have been down here, would have been in a factory area. And if you lived there, you had no neighbors really. So, all right. Folks, I hope you have a great day. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to change. What can I do better? What can I change? Let me know. Thank you all.